I want to talk about love. You know, I've been, as I mentioned last week, I did a wedding last Saturday. Turned out I did another one yesterday. The one that was yesterday was first Tammy's, then my wife's, then she was under the weather, and so on Friday I found out, nope, I'm doing it. So I never got a chance to do what I normally do with a couple. I just kind of showed up and did my thing, and it just got me thinking. And so in the same breath, right? So I got these weddings around love. I found this gorgeous novel, historical fiction, called 40 Rules of Love. And it's about the love affair, not the bromance between Rumi and Shams. In a fictional context. Well, I mean, in a historically accurate context, because I kept fact-checking it. I said, did this really happen? Did this really happen? You know? So I kept checking all the facts and around it as I'm reading this book, and I'm just thinking, wow. And so I have a quote from the book that grabbed me, so thought I'd share it. In many ways, the 21st century is not that different from the 13th century. That's when Rumi was around. Both will be recorded in history as times of unprecedented religious clashes, cultural misunderstandings, and a general sense of insecurity and fear of the other. At times like these, the need for love is greater than ever. I thought, yeah, that is just so true. Love and how we express it and how we move forward in it, that it is through us, each of us, that we can in any moment be expressing and our actions and our words through love or something else. And whatever that something else is adding to the warring of the world, right? In every moment of our lives, we have the opportunity to either be expressing into love in how we're saying something, in how we're taking action. Are we in fear? Are we in, oh, I got to protect myself? Oh, I got to feel safe? Or are we open to that sense of true love? Walking with an open heart in the moments when it's not the easiest to do, right? Because it's easy to be in love and share love when everything's hunky-dory, right? When everything's going well, when everything feels great. Oh, like I said last week, I'm only seeing green lights. This is incredible. I'm in the sink. But what do you do when they're all red? How are you with expressing love then? When you feel trespassed, when somebody's done you wrong, how are we learning to live together then? And so that's really the key to if we're actually going to transform life. Another quote from the book that I absolutely adore is that love can transform you. And if you're not transformed, love more. And I got that this week. That really happened for me this week. I had some things go down that really allowed me to get into that space of, wow, here's the places in which I'm seeing me and other, and the places in which I'm separating myself instead of leaning into the fear, right? Because it takes a lot of courage when you're afraid to lean into being open-hearted then. The easier thing is to close the heart, step back, go, I got boundaries, man, you just crossed them. Or am I the only one who's ever done that? Right? And so the real deal is when you're right there with it, right there at that edge where you feel threatened, but it's not by a bear, right? So many times we get up our goggles and we get up our protection, and it comes from that instinctual part of us that wants to, the fight or flight, right? And that goes on because, we think, we're used to that for 100,000 years of protecting ourselves from predators. And a lot of times that happens for us now, and there is no predator. Now, maybe there is, but at least check. How in danger actually are you with what's happening in that moment that you feel endangered? Right? I don't know about you, but I can feel endangered with my wife when she's just telling me to go take out the garbage and is being emphatic about it. It doesn't take a lot to feel endangered, and if we don't check, we can react in ways that, can be way beyond what's called for in that situation, right? Now, a lot of times that's happening because we're triggered, but if we're triggered, that's a really good time to take a look at, oh, I'm triggered, is there a bear? Is there a predator? Just because I'm triggered, that doesn't mean that I'm not. Or I'm triggered because in the past or at some point maybe there was a predator, and I'm now behaving as if it's here with me now, as if it's happening right here now. And I noticed that for myself, and I can see how I have created for in my life that the us and them situations that now I'm looked at this past week and go, you know what? That's not really what's going on. We're connected. I mean, I look at some of the things that Trump does, and I know some people are really like, that's great. And I'm like, I'm not so sure that's great. And I look at that and I start thinking in terms of us and them instead of, wait a minute, if this is going on, there's something in me, I'm still warring. Because what we embody manifests, right? What we embody manifests. It's not separate. And so there must be enough of us out here warring within ourselves to create what it is that's going on in the world. And if we go to fix it, and I know I've said this before, but it was very large for me this week because one of the things that I'm working with at the moment is our bigger organization. Right? And I've said here, I don't know, maybe a month or so ago, that I got up at a minister's gathering and said some things that was very upsetting to some folks. And it turned out that they're still, months later, upset about it, right? To the point at which, 2 weeks ago, I was told that I am no longer a member of the Ministers' Council. They kicked me off. Oh, look at you all. Now, this is the moment at which I remind you. There's a Zen story about a farmer. In that story, he's got this one horse and it runs away, and his neighbor comes over and goes, oh, that's terrible. And the farmer goes, we'll see. And then the horse comes back with 2 mares and a colt. And his neighbor comes over and goes, that's incredible. And the farmer goes, we'll see. And then his son tries to break one of the horses and instead gets thrown and breaks his leg. And the neighbor comes over and goes, oh, that's terrible. The farmer goes, we'll see. And then the army comes through conscripting every son of his son's age, except he didn't have to go because his leg was broken. And the farmer came over, and the neighbor comes over again, says, that's wonderful. And the farmer goes, we'll see. So this happened. And my immediate reaction was, that really hurts. That really hurts that they kicked me off. But then they explained that because of what I did, I was kind of a wild card, and kind of did my own thing and didn't. And so maybe I really didn't fit in for the way they wanted to do things. And I started being with that, and I started thinking, you know what, they're right. I am a wild card. I really don't know what I'm going to do next. And to make a promise to them that I'm going to be a particular way would be crazy, because there's only one voice I listen to, and that's the one here. The only commitment I have is to this. And so once I realized that, I realized they were doing me a favor for not only themselves, but for me, so we didn't have to suffer with each other with the different ways in which we are in the world, right? You want to be where you fit in. You don't want to be where you don't, right? And so what I realized out of that was, that means there's some greater way for me to serve. There's some other way that's going to come along, obviously, because I want to be of service. My soul's intention wants me to be of service. That's why I get up here every week. That's why I love you guys so much, and that's why I'm here the way I am, is because I love this. I love being with you, and I love being of service. And so that means there's other ways for me to do that and grow, and this simply wasn't it, because I didn't really fit. It was like putting a round peg in a square hole. Me being on that council, they're right? So here I was getting all wigged out about this for, a day. I gave myself a day to go, how dare they treat me like that? Then laughed at myself for doing that, because I love laughing at myself. And then said, okay, where's the greater good here, the love here? Where's the love here? And so one of the things they did was invite me back to see if they might reconsider. And I did that on Thursday, and it was after that I realized, this is not for me. Because I realized that there was a way in which people work that you want to be drawn to those people who work similar to you, who have similar ideas to you. And you'd think that in an organization called Centers for Spiritual Living, that we all would be kind of on the same page. And no, it may be true that we're not all on the same page even in this room. But the key is how open can we be? And on the Ministers' Council, they weren't. They needed it a particular way, and I'm okay with that. They get to have it that way. The organization gets to have it the way they want. We get to find our way of doing things. We get to find how we grow as a community, how we work together, how open we can be in our hearts for something that's different from what it is that we may think, because that's the thing about love, is what are you going to leave out? What do you think you want to leave out of oneness? We talk about oneness, and then we go, well, evil. Evil can't be in that oneness. Well, maybe it isn't. Maybe it's just that we call it that. Maybe it's more like they're asleep. They're really asleep. Because we're always talking about awakening here. And all of us are awakened at different levels and in different ways and at different moments. Sometimes some of us awaken in the same moment, and then we all go, wow, isn't that incredible? But a lot of times, even when that's happening, there's others who are in this same room going, that's not for me. I'm just feeling down today. So are we going to leave them out? Or are we going to be open to that? And so that's what I saw this week in these two weddings and in this book I'm reading and in the book. Well, I don't want to give away the book too much. Some of you are going to want to read it, and I don't want to give too much of a spoiler alert there. So let me move to something different. Don't want to spoil the book for you guys. It's a great book. Yeah. We have a way of being in this world that changes levels like all the time. What I mean by that is when we feel threatened, we're at one level, right? And we're responding from there. Right? When we're not, and we're just feeling out in nature, the sun's shining, everything's feeling really good, we are feeling open, our hearts are open and full, and we're going, oh my God, the gloriousness of spirit and light and love, and then we got these other times that are in the middle of that. And the work, the practice, what we teach here is how to get more in touch with letting that kind of view, that kind of perception, that kind of way of feeling and being in our souls, bringing our souls forward so that we can recognize the soul being in others in the moments we need it most. Because it's really easy not to see that. It's really easy to lose that and go, oh, I would never do that. I mean, that person's nothing like me. What is Cliff talking about? There are people that are nothing like me. And I'm here to tell you, look deeper. Look deeper. If there's anyone on this planet, if there's anything going on at all that you don't see as part and connected to you in that oneness, look deeper. And that's the job. That's the work. How deep can we go to look at our connection with each other and the world? The people we think are bullies, the people we think are mean, the people we think are evil, right? All these things that we look at and go, that's not me. That's the place, that's the job, that's where we want to work into. Because if we can get to that, if we can get to that place of feeling that kind of love in that kind of situation, then we have done our job in creating a peaceful, loving world. Right? That's the work. That's what I found this week for myself. Is I just kept looking. Oh, look at how I feel separate here. Let me breathe into that. Let me see how deep into this I can see our oneness, not sameness. Right? Let us not confuse oneness with sameness. We are unique individuals, all working out whatever it is we came here to work out in our individual way in this world. So this is not about that we're the same. I was thinking about this week that, a circle is 365 degrees. And our ability to see and perceive, 360. Thank you. It's good to get, it's 360 degrees. I just threw it an extra 5, I don't know. Maybe that's another dimension, I don't know. Anyway. But it is not just a circle, it's not one plane, right? It's in 3D, so we've got this whole universe of thing going on. And our ability to view at any particular moment is really tiny, right? What we see at any given moment is the fraction of it is like a billionth or 10 billionth that we get to see in this circle in all different directions around us. And so it's amazing to me that when two people are looking at the same thing and they see it differently, because you could be looking in the same arena and yet the degree of difference is just slight enough. And then one person gets, you didn't see that the way I did? You don't see this the way I do? It's a miracle if two people ever see two things in this exact same way. That would be the miracle. I mean, think about how large this all is and how everything's being viewed. And so even if we're all looking at that sign gratitude, right? We're not going to see it at the same angle, in the same way, or have it have the same meaning. And if two of us actually did have the exact same experience with it, that's the miracle. Not that we don't, right? Not that we don't. And so that's the key here, is remembering we're not going to see this the same. We're just all in the same 360 circumference. And so how open can we be to how the other person sees it? When I was the spiritual leader in Burbank, I used to get together. I would be considered in the States a liberal Democrat, and I used to get together with somebody I became close friends with, who was a conservative Republican, and we'd get together and we'd talk politics. That was the purpose of the exercise. Get together once a week for a couple hours to talk politics. And when we first started doing it, we would bring statistics with us to prove our point. And what astounded both of us is that we both had statistics to back up our point, and they were real statistics. That wherever he got his statistics, wherever I got mine, these were facts. These weren't just opinions, these were factual studies, except he had factual studies that backed up his view, and I had factual studies that backed up mine, and they weren't even close. And we'd laugh because we liked each other, and that here we are having these political discussions, and yet we could find facts that didn't match on the exact same subject. Whatever that subject was that we picked. And it made me realize this is how it works, right? None of us are going to see this the same. And so when we think somebody else ought to, we are judging them for their own view of the world and stopped being open-hearted and loving. No two of us is going to see this the same. But oneness is the key here. We're all still in the same universe. We're all still made of the same stuff. Some of us are more awakened than others, but that's going to happen too, and the degrees of that are also going to be massively, a matter differences. To be more awake, one of the things that I've noticed for myself is that I can get arrogant about my wakefulness. I'm awake and you're not. You need to wake up more and then you'll see more of what I'm seeing. Maybe sometimes I sound like that when I'm talking from up here. But I don't mean it that way. I mean, I have been that way. I'm doing my best to not be that way, because it's all about life. This is why in any given life I get up here each week and I speak about how we're powerful, creative, spiritual beings having this full experience of all the dimensions and all the dynamics and all the expressions and everything that goes on. The more we can just be open to that and all the different ways that people are, the more we express love. And it comes back to the exact same thing I started in the beginning, which is if we want to actually stop seeing warring out there, we got to stop warring with our neighbor. We got to stop warring with our partner. We got to stop warring with the people sitting next to us. And ultimately, we got to stop warring with ourselves. We got to come to peace with the differences, because the differences make the whole, not the sameness. I think we struggle too much around sameness when there's way more to be gained from our differences. So let's see if this week we can open up a little bit more as an expression of love and really breathe into the differences that go on in the world as something that is feeding love instead of whatever fear we may have. Let's see if we can catch ourselves when we're triggered or when we're sure there's a predator and check if there really is. Let's see, that's right, is there really a bear? Let's see if we can spend a few more minutes, a few more moments out in the world, in that place of expressing love, as if we were staring up at the stars, as if we were out in nature. When you're at the grocery store, imagine you're out in nature. When you're in the bank, imagine you're looking up at stardust. See if you can bring that into those moments when somebody cuts you off in traffic. See if you can bring in that moment the magnificence of life and feel the love for that and compassion for that person in whatever struggles they may be having that had them do that. Let's see if we can focus on that, bring that a little bit more into our lives. I think we'll make this world a much better place if we can. Thank you. I love you.